Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. I am super thrilled today to have Eric Estevez on the show. Eric, thank you for being here on Your Brand Amplified.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, so I know a little bit about your story, and I'm really excited because you have so much to share with the audience, but I'd love for you to unpack a little bit about your move from finance and marketing, working with Fortune 50 companies, into the wonderful, wacky world of entrepreneurship and successfully managing multiple businesses as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, life is queer with its twists and turns, right? You know, you never know where it's going to lead you. But, you know, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, Anika, and, but I had to grind from an early age after graduating University of Miami, because I started a family at an age, right? So I didn't have too much time to take risks. I had to make sure that I start earning right away. But what I did do is I learned within those organizations leadership skills, ability to lead large teams, which then translated into the other businesses that I have since started. You know, obviously, as I grew through the ranks and as I started to get rewarded with stock options and restricted stock units, RSUs, then I started playing around with, okay, what can I do, right? And one of the first passion projects that I did that really excited us, my wife and I always wanted to be children's books authors, right? So we wrote a book about our dog Chacho. It's like a family book, and that's more of a passion project. We made no money, right, with that. But you know what it is? It helped us say, okay, wow, we can start doing things on our own and doing things that excite us. And that led to more things, and eventually, led to investing in real estate and, learning passively and learning the acronyms, working with hard money, and started flipping my own homes. And I love this so much that it ultimately led me to my last big switch in my career, which is, in the financial industry and mortgages per se. Started a branch with my father. And then, after really building teams and processes that I've learned right throughout my career, it allowed me to now use those same systems and processes and leverage technology, right, to build other things. And right now I'm actually in Miami. I've been out here since last Tuesday for real estate, but I also brought my daughter, who's a music recording artist, and I'm managing her. We started a record label, and one thing led to the next. We've been here for 2 weeks now, just, making moves out here. So it's cool that, I'm able to go ahead and build businesses that I can spend time with my family as well.
Oh, 100%. I think that's the dream for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Is that how do we get that quality? How do we maintain that quality time and not be the people who are grinding it out and not, looking back at our lives and going, oh, wow, wait, my family grew up, they left, they're doing their own thing now. Where does that leave me? And how do I get that relationship back? So it's really beautiful. So you wrote a children's book, you started flipping real estate, getting involved in a lot of things. What was the turning point when you said, I can leave corporate safely now and just do entrepreneurship full time and just lean into my own stuff, my own passions?
I guess when the pain, right, of staying was greater than the pain of the possibility of failing, right, of leaving, so I think, missing out on opportunities and working on holidays and weekends, right? Sometimes, that was painful, right? And I said to myself, no, I want to be the master of my own destiny. I want to be able to control my time. And listen, it's hard work, right? So it's not a 9 to 5, right? It's more like a 5 to 9, right? But you control your time, right? So I'm in Florida running my businesses, right? I was spending time with my daughter, helping move her career forward. So the cool thing is that leap of faith, right? And it was a grind. Listen, it takes a few years to really start to get things going. But that leap of faith, led to a lot of other opportunities. So, and now I'm using the tools that I've learned in building that business and be able to go ahead and spin off and build some other businesses as well.
Nice. Yeah, you've mentioned a couple times tools and systems. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget that we have to implement when you become an entrepreneur. So what are some of the tools and systems that you've set up and that you recommend that people think about and utilize when they're going into business for themselves?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, right, the people are still the most important thing in any organization, right? So who's going to be your right hand? Who's going to be your assistant? Who's going to be your team? Right? Because you have to be able to, trust good people that are good at the things that you're not good at, right? The convention that I was in, I flew in last week, Barbara Corcoran was speaking, right? And she talked about how she was the expander of her business and she always needed to have a contractor, right? Someone that's going to challenge her, is going to be organized, is because she's not organized. And she was able to build multiple offices early on in her real estate career with an expander and a contractor. And it's actually, that was an awesome learning, right? Because she hired somebody unlike her, but they really helped each office that she built run well, where she sold her business for $66 million. And I think that the people are the most important, but right, we live in a world full of technology. Virtual assistants is something that, if you're an entrepreneur, you're your own CEO, right? And these big multinational corporations, they all outsource, whether they up and leave and go to another country because it's cheaper. We have the ability to do that now with virtual assistants, right? And I've had virtual assistants now for years where, even when I'm not working, they're working, whether it's posting on social media, right? Whether it's calling databases and scheduling them on my calendar, and now utilizing that to teach and provide value to my partners that bring me business, right? So virtual assistants is a great way to leverage your time for relatively cheap. Social media, right? We're in a place right now where we can go much faster, quicker, right? Much further, quicker, right? With social media, you can have a much broader reach. So being able to utilize that and market yourself is something that we haven't had, right? If we really use those tools to leverage our business, we can grow fast. So I think social media, virtual assistants, technology, there's so many different apps to help, right, organize your time and your business. I'm a Calendly freak. Do you use Calendly?
Yes.
Right? That governs my day, right? So my virtual assistants that reach out to my database, they schedule my time, right? They call my office, they'll schedule my time on Calendly. So that really governs my day. It allows me to time block and to be present wherever. If I do have a meeting, I'm not picking up calls all the time because I'm focused on whoever I'm talking to or whatever message I'm trying to convey at that point. So Calendly being organized, and then I use things like, Canva and WeChat. There's so many different things that you can use, right, with the technology at our fingertips that would cost thousands of dollars if you were a multinational corporation 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's unpack these a little bit. I was just listening to Alex Hormozi's podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was that more recent episodes, and I was talking about exactly what you're talking about. Like, you don't hire people who are exactly like you. You don't hire the people who are going to say yes. You hire the people who are going to have a different point of view, a different thought, a different system, or add something that is unlike what you can do. So, sometimes that means you have, like, if you are the CEO, you're the entrepreneur, you're the solopreneur, but then you start hiring people, you might have to hire 5 people to replace what you can do because you need one expert for sales, one for marketing, one for each aspect of your business. But I love that you brought that up because it's something that I think is, we all often also fall into the trap of hiring people who are our friends, they have this skill set. So come on, let's work together. That'll be fun. Well, it's business, right? It can be fun, but it's business first. So.
Right. Yeah. And I've, my first career, right, growing in management, I was fortunate to have amazing mentors. Anything that I did, and I always attached myself to a mentor. Even when I started the mortgage industry, before I earned a dollar, I started investing in coaching, right? Because you want to make sure you have those mentors, and they all talk about that. We have to know who we are, be accountable, right? We're not great at everything. We just have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, I'm good at this, but I suck at this. Right? Like, I'm a big thinker. It's difficult for me to really be in the nitty gritty weeds of things, but I'm able to hire people that like doing that, right? So the people that work at our back office to make sure that we give a seamless customer experience, they love it. They love in the weeds. They love the details, right? So I can focus on just doing what I do best, which is connecting with people, bringing in the business.
Nice. I love that. And then you talked about virtual assistants, and that's actually one of your businesses that you started as well, right?
Yeah, so, it kind of happened where, I needed one. I have my main virtual assistant has been with me for almost 5 years now. And then I started teaching, classes, and a lot of my business has grown because of education, right? So whether it's in my coaching ecosystem, right, they ask me to do classes, whether it's in the, organization where I have branches in, right, they ask me to do classes. And I always talk about this. So throughout the years, people just ask me, hey, so like, where can you get one of these virtual assistants, right? And then I said to myself, wow, what the most important thing is training them, right? You can find, in this gig economy, you can find people on Fiverr or on Upwork, but the training of it is what is time consuming. So I said to myself, you know what? This could be another business, right? Like, this could be an auxiliary business of what I'm already doing. So I started a company, right? I had a partner that runs the back end, And I help real estate professionals, right? So if they're looking to have someone to do the things, organize their calendar, call their database, manage their social media, I've already been doing it for years. So I said, you know what? I don't really promote that. I think the next phase is maybe get a sales manager to be the face of that business. It just has grown organically.
Very nice. When working with virtual assistants, because I've tried it a few times, and some I'm having success now for people, for instance, helping with my podcast or helping promote things, right? But it can be really hard to find the right people and know how to train them or what language to communicate and make sure that they are speaking in your brand voice.
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just really, teaching and training. And listen, training, not everybody can train, right? It takes a special person to train individuals and do it consistently and hold them accountable so that way they can do what you want them to do. That takes time, right? Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of people try it and they give up and they say, oh, this person knows no good. Instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and say, man, what could I do to train this person? What systems can I do to help this individual, right? Can I have, bi-weekly calls or weekly calls? And, like I told you, my main assistant has been with me for close to 5 years, right? It took time, but now she has a capacity to train anybody else that we bring on board,
Fantastic.
Right? Because she has that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you also talked about social media. So are you talking about organic social media? Are you talking about paid advertising? Are you talking about SEO? Are you talking about a mix of all of those?
A mix of all of that. I think, listen, you start, especially as an entrepreneur, right? Anything that's free, right? You want to start doing, but you have to be consistent in it, right? So you don't have to necessarily start running ads, but that's something that you can start doing when you're really evaluating your business and you're trying to figure out where you're going to put these marketing dollars in. But listen, the phone screen is the most important screen in our life right now, right? We look at that screen hundreds of times a day, right? So anything that comes across that screen is important. So when you pick up that screen during your break or in your downtime, and I think that, we each get dopamine whenever we pull up that phone, right? We're looking at that phone. So just imagine if you pull up and you see, right, myself talking about the mortgage industry or talking about virtual assistants or talking about, I've been posting my daughter and her events that she's been having out here in Miami. And people get to know me and know that I can provide value and I can help them. And you're going to start getting a lot of organic leads through social media, right? And even though, right, you might think people aren't watching or doesn't equate to the likes, they're watching it. You have to be consistent. Right. And that's a great way to be top of mind. I mean, in my industry before, you would have to do, whether it's billboards, whether it's, shopping cart ads, whether it's newspaper ads, postcards. Those are the things that, right, put these real estate professionals in front of people always. You don't have to spend money to do that now, right? But you can now, right, because this is now how these social media companies make money through ads. Now you can start leveraging that and really start targeting your market and you can amplify your reach.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that's been really unique is seeing how you can differentiate yourself in the world of real estate and mortgage, thinking about how are you different than other people who are talking about the same things. So I know examples of realtors who are really about garages because of their own passion. And so they post about different garages and cars and things like that. But in their area, if somebody's moving there, they're going to think about that person, right? And so that's really what it's about, is becoming top of mind so that somebody can say, hey, I know somebody who's moving here. I know somebody who can help them. Let me connect the two of you, or I follow this person.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I adapted TikTok very early on, right? And I haven't been on there as often, lately, but I made myself, I kind of, mortgages and finance, it could be stuffy, it could be boring, right? So I made it fun. I was funny on there and I would go to different events around New Jersey and people would say, oh man, I love your TikTok video. Oh, you're hilarious. And we didn't even talk about mortgages. We just talked about the fact that they were amusing and they were entertaining, but I was top of mind, right? Because in addition to me going out there and trying to put a smile on somebody's face, right, with my reputation, right, and the closings that we have and whatnot, people know, hey, these people are pretty good at what they do as well. Yeah. So I lightened it up, and it really helped me gain some new relationships because they said, oh, that's the guy in TikTok with all the great fun videos.
Yeah, fantastic. So how are you replicating your success and using the same systems for every single one of your businesses? Are there nuances for each one?
There definitely are nuances, but you know what? Like I have Shy, she just sent me, a message today that, Shy says she's working with me. She's from the Philippines. She's bought a house, bought a car,
Wow.
had a baby, got married. I mean, it's insane in the last 5 years, and she's living the life out there. And Shy will do anything. Like Shy knows how to call expired and help realtors with their database if they want to get listing agents. She has scripts on buyers agents. Guess what? Now my daughter in her career, she has scripts to send out to radio stations and music festivals, right? So like if I say, hey, every Tuesday, I need you to focus on strictly music, right? So now we just go ahead and just send those things out, right? Same thing with, I have one that helps manage my social media that pushes out content. So when this podcast airs, Anika, right, she'll clip it up, she'll put it in 30-second clips, and she'll go ahead and advertise that and continues to post on it so we can educate the community and add value. So the cool thing is that, right, whether it's podcasting, whether it's music, whether it's virtual assistants, they can technically be cross-utilized, which is pretty cool. And as your businesses grow, you can add that. You can just continue to leverage more and more, but that foundation is there.
Yeah. Wow. Are you ready to take your brand to new heights? Join the Brand Amplifier for Entrepreneurs program. Learn how to build, elevate, and amplify your brand with a comprehensive 10-module course. Learn more about it and other ways to implement our strategies at fullcapacitymarketing.com. Click on EFCM Learning Hub for more information. Can't wait to help you amplify your brand. What do you think are some of the hardest hurdles for people to get over when they're starting businesses? And what are the things that prevent people from growing faster, finding success more quickly, and moving to where you are? Like, what are some things that you saw either in your own building or in other people who maybe haven't reached the level of success that you have, that you would say, don't do this, do that?
I think it's just, honestly, I think it's people give up too early. Listen, the first 2 or 3 years of building a business is pure grind mode, and you may not see the rewards right away, right? But even in those 2 or 3 years of grinding it out and measuring your success in terms of activities, not necessarily sales volume or money, right? You're building a foundation. And if you move through that, right, you're going to continue to break that barrier. And I think most people give up after year 2, year 3. Because they don't see those rewards. I was just at a gentleman's house here in South Florida. I work. He owns offices all over Florida and other states and in New Jersey. And, the first 7 years, he just grinded. He reinvested everything back into the business. And the last couple of years is when he started saying, okay, he bought his house, beautiful house. He was so proud, showing me his movie theater and his pool and everything that he's been doing. But guess what? He reinvested in the business for 7 years before he even took a penny profit. And not many people have that in them to do that, right? So I think you have to make sure that you're investing in yourself, investing in other activities, and don't give up, because if you're continuing moving forward, it's like one of my favorite books is it 3 Feet from Gold, right? Where, a gold miner was just, hammering away, and he gave up where he was 3 feet from gold. He gave up. He would have become a rich man. But you know what? He sold that business to someone else, and someone dug 3 feet, and they became rich, right? Because they went ahead and took over on the years of hard work of that previous miner. So you have to continue moving forward, right? You never know when you're 3 feet from gold.
That is really inspirational. Thank you for sharing that. It is easy to give up, and it's easy to just think, oh, maybe this isn't for me, because entrepreneurship is not an easy journey to start.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is not for the faint of heart. And listen, even when you think you're successful, right, the thing is that it's an up and down thing, right? Right now in the mortgage industry, it's not great, right? So the mortgage industry with these high interest rates and low inventory, it's stressful. It is stressful, right? And a lot of people are suffering. It's a market of who can hold their breath underwater the longest, right? But those that continue to persevere and work on their business, right? So we're not busy with transactions, but we're working on our business. What can we do to continue to get better? What can we learn, right? In this time where we don't have as many transactions, I'm recruiting people, I'm teaching them. I just became a real estate collaboration specialist for divorce, where I got trained by Professor Kelly Murray, who's a badass, and she teaches at Vanderbilt Law and has law degrees from Stanford and Harvard Law. And she taught me how to build my referral network with divorce attorneys from across the country, right? And how I can add value to them. So instead of me, saying it's slow, okay, well, what can I do to continue to grow myself and my business, right? So you always have to continue looking at that.
Yeah. And actually, that's something I was going to touch on in terms of, so your business isn't just localized. It's not just New Jersey or just Miami. You can do deals all over.
Yeah, obviously New Jersey is where I live, and that's where my hyper focus was. I do business in Florida and other states, but I have capacity to do business in all 50 states. And in addition to being down here for my daughter's music career, I'm making connections with real estate offices. I'm trying to, open up an office down here, and it doesn't have to stop, right? So the great thing about this is it can continue to scale up. So whatever we were able to do, myself and my partner, a couple of years ago, we reached $100 million in sales, right? We can do that in different states, right? Which is pretty cool, right? So I'm looking forward to scale the business down the road.
Yeah, fantastic. And how do you start? Like, did you set these goals of, I want to reach this level of my business? I know we've talked a little bit about, like, now you're looking at organic strategies and how to continue growing, and it's a little more organic and not planned out. But when you moved over to entrepreneurship, did you say, okay, I know that I'll have made it when I reach this goal?
Great question. And you know what, believe it or not, I learned that when I was working for these Fortune 50 companies. You have to realize that they spend millions of dollars in consulting and just changing processes and hitting goals. But when you're talking about, billions of dollars in revenue, right, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, right, one small change could potentially earn or save the company a lot of money. So, writing down goals and holding yourself accountable to those goals was something that I had to do very early on in my career. And it translated into the mortgage industry. So I teach classes, and what I do is we talk about the reverse engineering strategy. Okay. So I tell my salespeople, or even, referral partners that I'm teaching, well, how much money do you want to earn this year? Is it $100,000? Is it $250,000? And then we break it down, right? So what is the average, sale price of a home in this market? How many homes do you have to sell, or how many loans do you have to close in a month to reach? If the conversion is 5%, 10% of the people that you need to speak to, how many people do you need to connect with on a monthly basis, and break it down to the day, right? And that's where I think a lot of people fail, is they don't hold themselves accountable daily. If I know that in order to reach a goal, I have to connect with 5 new people a day, and it's Wednesday and I'm only connected to 3 people, I'm way behind my goal, right? So what am I going to do on Wednesday to pivot and reconnect? Do I have to go out to an event? Do I have to go out and visit real estate offices, right? Because you have to be in it to win it. So if you hold yourself accountable on a daily basis, right, the mathematical equation is that you're going to meet your goal, right? And the cool thing is that when I first, I left making $250,000 in salary and bonuses in corporate to now eating what I kill and just working strictly off of commission. So I remember my first year, I just wanted to make $100,000 in commission, and I did the reverse engineering and I exceeded it. But then guess what? The mathematical equation worked. So now if I needed to double that, I needed to connect with double as many people. And the great thing is that, right, it's just you use that mathematical equation, but you hold yourself accountable daily. And now you can either pay for it or play for it. So you can leverage your time, you can pay for leads and whatnot, you can leverage it. But now, right, each year I'm in this business, it's a mathematical equation, which is pretty cool, right? So I think anybody can set themselves and say, this is what I want to earn, as long as it's realistic. I was making $250,000 and I made $100,000+ my first year in this business, right? So I didn't expect to do more than that, because there's a learning curve to it. So you got to be realistic, but you got to hold yourself accountable for the first year that you start your business, and make sure that you're tracking your activity each day.
And yeah, I think that's one of the hard parts, is thinking about managing everything that you're doing in your business, especially when you're starting out. You are marketing, you are sales, you're finance, you're HR. You have to make sure you have the right certifications, all the different things, and be the face of your company. And then figuring out how to find time to make sure that you're structuring yourself and time blocking appropriately, so that you are making those connections, that you're keeping track of it, all the things that you're saying. Were you just highly motivated, or was there a system that you used or bought into that helped you structure your time that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not always highly motivated, right? Like, up and down, right? Like, I mean, this is just a life of an entrepreneur, another person, right? I mean, I think that, there's no way that you can always be on all the time. But I think if you have a routine, right, even when you're not highly motivated, that routine is going to push you forward, right? I joined Arnold Schwarzenegger has a new podcast and a new newsletter. So he came out with a great documentary on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
I get a newsletter every single morning called the Pump Club. Right. I love listening to his accent and how motivated he is. And he actually just talked about that this morning. And he said, hey, listen, you're not going to always be highly motivated, but if you have a routine, you're going to push through it. Now, as far as organizing my time, I learned that when I was working in retail, managing teams, because there's a lot of things that can come at you. And the more organized you are, right, the more successful you're going to be. So you do have to, leave, right, some room, some time in your day for the unplanned so you'll be able to pivot. But I've learned very early on that the more I was planned, the more specific I was, the faster it was that I can reach my goal. This is the same thing in mortgages, right? So like, I'm one of these 5 a.m.ers, right? Where between 5 and 5:30, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is write down the things that I'm going to accomplish that day. And I know that some people, right, talk about going out and meditate and working out, and that's all great. And I do those things too. But I just like to plan out my day. Right. So I know what my day looks like in my head before I start those routines. And then either I, go to the gym and walk the dogs, right, with my wife sometimes, go for long walks. So I can have that me time before I start hammering down. And then I know, okay, what am I going to be involved in? What do I have to be involved with? And what can I delegate? So I have a list of 30 things each day, but I'm able to delegate 20 of those things, right, to my team. That means that I have to do 10 things in those days. And what are the most important of those things? So, with time, you get better, right? Again, it's all going back to holding yourself accountable and saying this works and giving yourself that routine. And this works for me. One of the planning systems that I use is the Best Self Journal. I love that. I've been using it for a couple of years. So that's what I use, right? It's a planner for a quarter. And I just love it as a nice, neat and compact, journal, so you will. And then I also use the Big Ass Calendar by Jesse Eichler, I think it is. So I'm part of the Big Ass Calendar Club. So you get a calendar for the year where you can color code and you can plot different key moments in the year, right? What are your goals, your visions, right? Your personal goals, your financial goals. And the cool thing about that is that it keeps you balanced, because when you start putting things that have to do with work, and you realize, I don't have too many things here with my family. Like, I got to plan a vacation. I got to go out for a week, right? And you balance out, because I think life is truly about balance. And now you can really plot your year and say, okay, I have a pretty good balance of family activities. I have a pretty good balance of work activities, of health activities. What is my health goal that I want to reach? By when am I going to reach it? It's a great system. So I highly recommend it as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. I'm always looking for new resources, because I feel like I'm a podcast, I have my day job, I teach university, I'm a single mom, I have dogs that I have to walk.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. You have a lot on your plate.
It all in, yeah. I need more systems in my life and more of that balance that you're talking about. So because if we don't have the balance, right, like if all we're doing, and if we're just focusing on one, life is, this is also Zig Ziglar, right? He's, one of the best salesmen. He talks about in one of his books, life is like a wheel, right? With all these different spokes, right? So you have finances, you have your family, your health, right? You have a relationship with your significant other, right? So you have all these spokes of the wheel. And if you don't have a balance in all spokes of the wheel, your tire is going to run flat. Yeah. It's only going to be that much more energy consuming to move forward. But if you have balance in all these spokes of the wheel and you're focusing on that, you're going to actually start to have a smoother ride in life. And I love that analogy. Yeah, that is a really great analogy. What's one piece of advice that you'd give? Because you've given a lot of really great, tangible, actionable steps and resources people can use, systems they should think about when they are looking to scale and build their businesses. But if you can sum it all up, is there like one overarching piece of advice that you would leave the audience with?
I think the first thing to do is write down the goal and reverse engineer. We talked about that a little bit, because when you write down your goal and you reverse engineer, and you know what you need to do on a daily basis, you have like those activities, that's the first thing, right? Because if you know that in those activities, you have to do a lot in a day or in the course of a week, and you feel like you cannot accomplish it, now you have to say, okay, well, I have to get more organized. So how am I going to get more organized to accomplish these? Right? Or if you are organized already, right, then okay, if you're organized already, and if you're doing non-sales activities, how can you increase your sales activities, right? So I think writing down goals and reverse engineering is step one, right? And, you know, a plan isn't a plan until it's written down. You know, you can have all these things, and even if it's in a napkin, right? But write it down, and it's just easier because you can go back and hold yourself accountable. If you write it down and you put it in your office or you put it in your mirror, right, you're not going to forget what that goal is. And you can change activities throughout, but you have to be consistent, right? So I think reverse engineer your goals, right? Have that daily activity, be consistent with it, and then evaluate your business, work on your business after you know you've been consistent. If you do something for a month, 2 months, and you give up, how do you know if you're not 3 feet from gold, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes months, right, even years to develop a specific activity. So don't give up on something, right? Keep at it, be consistent, and then evaluate, right, the ROI in that activity.
Nice. Now, you talked a lot about classes that you teach. Is this all for people in the real estate world? Are you teaching them also to entrepreneurs, or do you have expansion plans to move it into teaching entrepreneurs your success strategies?
Yeah, so I started in the real estate industry. It just started, you know, in my coaching platform. Hey, come and teach these classes. And then, you know, I teach home buying seminars. I'm on Spanish channel television every Sunday morning at Telemundo in New York and Jersey, where we focus on educating the Hispanic community. So teaching has always been part of our business plan. Now, through these podcasts that I'm speaking in, I learn when I teach, right? Yeah. So it keeps me on my toes. So I've thought about expanding and doing speaking engagements and whatnot. Awesome. Something that I would love to do once the things that I have are settled down, right? You know, I think that once my daughter's career hopefully continues to take off and I can bring on somebody else to help me manage it, right, that knows a little bit more than me, so they can really help. I want to make sure that I'm protecting her. I think that once that happens, I'll have a little bit more time once we get a deal for her and whatnot, right, to just focus on some other things. But for right now, right, I'm focusing on my mortgage industry, the mortgage business, because we're in turmoil right now. My team needs me. I need to make sure that I lead them through this time, right? I'm focusing on the virtual assistant company because that's tied in to leveraging these tools and technologies so we can continue to have a deeper reach within the mortgage industry. And I'm focused on my daughter's music career, but teaching other classes and expanding it to other entrepreneurs is something that I would like to do in the future.
Fantastic. And you've mentioned your daughter several times. So what is her social media so that people can follow her?
Oh, great. Yeah. So her social media is at Angelise. So it's Angel, YSE, and Mariah is like Mariah Carey, MARIAH. So at Angelise Mariah, she has 7 singles out. Check out her video on YouTube. We have music every other month. She's dropping music. And yeah, you know, tomorrow, you know, we keep on extending our stay. We went to a radio station earlier this week in Miami, and we're going to be going to another one tomorrow. And she was meeting a bunch of really big names. So follow our social media and you'll be able to check her out.
Fantastic. And Eric, what is the easiest way for people to follow you?
I think you can also reach me on Instagram, right? Eric Estevez, the Eric Estevez, ERICESTEVEZ. Follow me on social media, right? I have my link tree there. You can reach I have my email, right? And you can also reach me, but that's the easiest way. You know, take out your phone again, is the Eric Estevez.
Fantastic. And do you have a quote, a mantra, family motto that you live by?
It changes from time to time, depending on where I think I'm at in my life, right? But I think one of the ongoing themes in my life is just grind, right? I don't think anything replaces hard work. I'm trying to slowly replace hard work with smart work, right? I'd rather work smart, right, than hard. But you won't be able to get to work smart if you don't work hard in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to just, you know, grind it out, continue working. When you're working, you're meeting people, you're learning. And then what happens is throughout your life, you know, if the scale of working hard starts to shift to working smart, that's our goal, right? Mm-hmm. Our goal is that, you know, by the time we retire, we're earning as much income passively than we do when we work our butts off. But that comes with time and experience. So just grind it out, work hard.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. It's been really inspirational for me. I love it when I'm doing a podcast and I'm like, okay, let me take notes on this and this and this. And this is an episode I definitely want to go back and listen to a few times myself. And I just really appreciated everything that you shared with the audience. And I want to say thank you to my audience for coming back for another amazing expert speaker and on Your Brand Amplified. And I'll be back again in a few days with another amazing guest to inspire you on your entrepreneurship journey. Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.